Okay, thank you so much. I welcome each and every one of you on board here for tonight's 210 Traffic Safety Committee meeting. I want to thank all of you who have taken the time and effort to be a part of this meeting. We like to think the information that we share is very pertinent to all in the community, and all those who perhaps outside of the community may find enlightenment and awareness of the happenstance of what's going on any Highway 210. Again, my name is Reverend Dr. Robert L. Screen Sr. I will be your facilitator tonight. I want to welcome on board. We have with us tonight, I'll just give an overview and hopefully we can get a few words from each. We have Major Mitchell and Sergeant Mitchell Gilliam representing the 7th District of Prince George's County. Peter Caponides, the State Highway Administration representative, who's been with us in diligence since our inception 6 years ago. We hopefully be able to get Mark France from the University of Maryland, who will give us some insights on some enhancements that are forecast to come on Any Head Highway in the near future, safety enhancements. And then we also have Ms. Regina Ali from AAA. We want to welcome each one of you for being a part of this this time of hopefully sharing information pertinent to safety for each and every one of us that we may and also just share with our community in a positive way. So I won't delay because I think we have seems like a very good slate of presenters here tonight. So I'm going to always, as we always start with our 7th District Police Representative Major Mitchell and Sergeant Gilliam. I don't know between the two of you what you have to share for the last 30 days of traffic enforcement reports. We're welcome to receive anything and all things that you have for us tonight. So I'll turn it over to you guys, Major Mitchell and Sergeant Gilliam.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Major Mitchell out of Division 7. As far as officer-generated stats go for Maryland 210, from January up until September 16th, officers have made a combined total of 907 traffic stops, and they've issued 1,931 citations. And out of those citations, 366 were moving violations, 1,459 were warnings, and then they had 106 equipment repair orders. And they've also made 2 DUI arrests, and pedestrian contacts has been 3,501. I'm pretty sure everyone heard about the fatality that they've recently had, the one that was at 210 in Farmington. So, I mean, that's like probably the most recent one. And then we actually had another fatality, but that was not related to 210 at all. But that's what's been going on as far as Division 7 traffic-wise for officer-generated stats.
Okay. Major Mitchell, can you elaborate on any outside information outside? I know the stats themselves speak their own story, but anything that you would like to add in terms of how you're feeling the pulse of the roadway in the last 30 days or over a period of time that you may have seen something that you'd like to share with us and that's significant that we would can be of good news to or just news in itself to each of us in the community?
Well, the only other thing that's been different within the last month is school has started. And so actually we've seen an increase of traffic in 210, and that's done a little bit to slow some of the traffic down like in the morning time and the afternoon. But I mean, other than that, 210 is still 210. Okay. When people have the opportunity to speed when the traffic is light, they'll speed, whether the cameras are there or not.
Okay. One additional question I'd like to ask. I know it hasn't happened yet, and I don't know if there has been some planning that you guys mean you and the officers regarding the new school that's going to be opened up in November. My understanding there's going to be what I've been told, I may be off on this, somewhere around 40 school buses that are going to be coming in. I don't know if they're going to be coming down Any Head Highway, making a right on Swan Creek Road, or they're going to be going down Fort Washington Road, or I don't know how the dynamics of that is going to happen, but I'm sure it's going to, it's going to, in some degree, have an effect on the traffic in terms of volume, if nothing less. Have you been given any insight on that, or can you share anything regarding that?
Well, the school board just had a town hall last week in reference to the exact type of questions that you're asking. So
Okay.
they had their town hall, and they put the rest of their information on their website, which is PGC, which is
Mhm.
like County Public Schools. So all their information is on their website, and
Okay.
it's the same information that they actually had in the town hall. And they've drawn up diagrams for ingress, egress away from the school. It's dealing with car lines, neighborhood complaints where it might be excessive amount of traffic, or people trying to park on shoulders or just blocking the regular residents of that area. They pretty much covered all the avenues so far. But then again, the school's not open, so but they definitely have developed plans.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we have about another month in the interim to go, and if anything comes up, we certainly, I'm sure you'll share it with us that may develop in the interim. But I thank you for that, what you've given us. 931 citations, I think I heard you say with the since the beginning.
Well, 1,931.
1,931. Okay, 1,930. Okay.
Right, 1,931 year to date.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being on board. And if anything, during the course of our open conversation, if you anything you want to share with us, please feel free to jump in and share your insights.
Will do.
I'll put our State Howard representative, Peter Caponides, who has been with us. Again, I made mention in our session, actually, August of a month ago was our 6th year that we have been a working committee. And from that session time, Peter Caponides has been with us throughout the entirety of that time. Peter is the one who has been basically helping us to bring in more enhanced safety measures and infrastructure and other areas that concern Indian Head Highway. So each month, as clockwork, Peter always gives us an insight of what he has done in the last 30 days. I know that there are a few outstanding deliverables that are been kind of on the holding pattern, such as the flex poles and other forgive me, other areas of concern. So, Peter, we want to give you the platform right now, and just let you go ahead and chime in on whatever you have to share for us.
Thank you, Reverend Screen, and good evening, everyone. I had a conversation with the Marlboro Maintenance Shop regarding all the flex posts that have been knocked down, and they are aware of the situation. We are going to do what we can to replace what's been knocked down with Quick Curb. I know that I had said in our July meeting that it is a little bit more labor intensive to do it, but if it's done in a way that is similar to the how the flex posts are installed, it won't be quite as bad. But there are definitely sections like Maryland 210 in the mall where there are straightaways that they're basically a line of flex posts that are blocking the turn bays. We would try to do them, in pairs, much like in the configuration that the flex posts are installed along the shoulders, and at the closure points it would just be one straight line, so that way we're not using as much material. It's still there's still a level of labor intensity to it, but we're looking into that. The flex, and they will be installing flex posts at Palmer Road and along that the median areas, not median areas, the Gore areas for the ramps that come in and out of Kirby Hill Road. It would be done in the similar manner that flex posts were installed along southbound Maryland 210 coming off of the I-295 off ramp. And I've also informed them of the no turn on red. So they should be fabricating that. I also mentioned about a yield sign heading southbound on 210 at Livingston Road. It's a Livingston Road, Palmer Road intersection. So they've been told about that. So I am anticipating by the end of October having a fresh new set of treatments along 210. As far as the quick curb and the flex posts to calm traffic between the Charles County line and Maryland 228, we are on schedule to try and get these in, if not by the end of this month, they'll be early next month. And I know that Dr. Franz is very eager to begin the next stage of his research on Maryland 210, and so am I. And I'm dying to find out what you know the effectiveness of this treatment. So there is a lot there. It's a long stretch, and there's a lot going on, and obviously that fatal that occurred a few weeks ago, over a month ago, almost a month ago. Don't never do math on the fly. Almost a month ago. So that the initial report was improper passing. So you can imagine that it was some type of aggressive driving that was occurring at that location. And our office will be drilling down into the details of the crash. We get that crash report from the county police in this case along 210, and we're going to see if there are any treatments that could be done to address that situation. So with that, I give it back to you, Reverend Screen.
Okay, I see Joseph Trapani has a hand up. We're going to hold all questions till we have our presenters. So Joseph, if you can hold on to until that time. I did want, forgive me for not mentioning that as you had alluded to, and both Major Mitchell and you alluded to, we had our first fatality, for those of you who may or may not know, at the intersection of Farmington Road and Indian Head Highway. That's been the better part of close to a month ago, I guess now.
I would like for it to be our only fatality.
Well, we pray that that will be the case. As you made mention, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there was one individual that was going northbound, was making a left turn in the northbound lane onto Farmington Road and was hit by a vehicle going southbound, I believe, at that intersection. Am I correct in that?
Forgive me, I don't know all the specific details.
Okay, well, maybe Major Mitchell, if you're still on the line, you may be able to chime in on that if you have information on that. If not, that's what I think I've heard. I think I'm in the ballpark in terms of what did occur at that intersection. But nevertheless, any fatality is one too many. We have been so far this year. This has been the first fatality of the year, as opposed to last year. We've had at least 10 associated with Indian Head Highway. I think there's been some things in terms of a few of those fatalities, not exactly on the Indian Head Highway, but they were attributed to unfortunately, the roadway nevertheless. But this is the first one of this year. And so we like to think that some of the measures we try to put in to slow people down, or at least make them more conscientious about their driving, have been taking place. But nevertheless, one is always too many for those who are lost, and families and friends who lost their loved ones in these incidents. But Peter, I want to thank you for giving us the insights. It's good to know that the flex poles and other measures are near to be brought into play on the highway, and you've kind of given a segue into our next speaker and guest, Dr. Marge France from University of Maryland. Dr. France, I want to welcome you for being a part of the call tonight, and to kind of give the insights. I know for some, you will be the project that you're working on will be somewhat new to some of the ears here. If you can kind of start from, I guess, from the beginning to kind of explain your role in trying to bring safety to 88 Highway, the project areas that you're going to be working in. In other words, just kind of start from scratch and kind of give the objective of this project to hopefully make this highway a little bit safer, and what the outcome is, and what you're hopefully seeking to do in terms of an outcome through your project, your work here on 88 Highway. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. France, and let you have the platform.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Screen. As Peter had mentioned, my name, well, let me take a step back and introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Mark Franz. I'm the lead transportation analyst at the Center for Advanced Transportation Technology Laboratory, which is an academic research lab at the University of Maryland in the Civil Engineering Department. So we were awarded this project working with Maryland DOT District 3. The primary objective of our project is to do an evaluation on the effectiveness of some safety countermeasures that Maryland DOT is going to be installing, the ones that Peter had been talking about, some flex post and quick curbs around the southern part of Maryland 210 and Prince George's County. So my team is going to be evaluating several different data sources to see what the impact is on safety. So in addition to looking at obvious things like the number of crashes and the severity of crashes, we also have different data sources that tell us the speed of vehicles on predefined segments. Every single minute we get a reading, an average speed, so to speak, on that. And thanks to you all on this call, put my lab and my team in connection with the Prince George's County Police Department. And I finally got connected with folks that are working in their enforcement division, and they're the ones that kind of own the data that's coming from the automated speeding enforcement cameras. And so we got a sample of that data, just 1 month of it, and we're finding some interesting things. The initial results, and again, you have to take this with a grain of salt because 1 month of data for this type of study is not really that significant, but the initial results suggest that people are learning where the enforcement cameras are at. And even though these cameras are mobile and they can be moved, I don't think that they have been moved. So the people, especially the people that use it every day, the local people that are commuting, they learn where it's at. They tend to slow down at that location more so than they would if the camera wasn't there. And then once they get past it, they participate in compensatory behavior to kind of make up for lost time, so to speak, and they speed up when they go by. And that's not an unusual finding with enforcement, because most people, once you get by the actual enforcement location, you probably have some space before you can expect the next enforcement to show up. And if what that suggests, and again, these are initial results, so I'm not saying this is the pattern, but if that is the case, once we get more data and look at it, what that suggests is if speeding really is a problem where those cameras are being installed, we're really just shifting the problem down the road. Literally, right? So instead of speeding at this location, they're speeding here. Sometimes that's okay. I worked on projects in the past where they had automated speed enforcement. And I'm sure you all have driven through work zones in Maryland that have the automated camera in it. And I did a study many years ago for Maryland DOT, but they wanted people to slow down in the work zone. Once they got through the work zone, they did speed more than they would have. But at that point, they wanted to keep the workers safe, so they were okay with it. What we're working with at Maryland 210 is different. We want the entire corridor to be safer and to have more regulated speeds on it, because we know that that's a serious contributing factor.
Yes.
So that's what we've been working on. We're kind of in a holding place with our actual analysis, because as Peter said, we're waiting for the maintenance crews to do the actual installation. Once they do, we'll be able to do like a traditional before and after study. We'll look at the speeds, the crash patterns, other metrics of safety before the installation and after. And one thing that we'll have to control for is, because we're installing these, we expect there to be changes in the driver's behavior. So we have to control for other things, though, that might be impacting people's speeding behavior. So we're going to do a selection of what we call control sites. So sites that are pretty similar to Maryland 210. Now, of course, there's not one road that's exactly the same, but we're mostly going to focus on the area where the installations are coming on, where the speed limit's 55 miles per hour. And we're going to find similar roads in the state of Maryland in terms of speed limit, the number of lanes, the traffic volume, the width of the lanes, all those kind of good things. And those will be our control sites. So we'll do the same exact analysis before and after at a site that doesn't have any installations in it to control for any external factors. And at the end, we'll be able to use that to say, for instance, even though this control site road saw an increase in crashes, let's say, of 10%, Maryland 210 still saw an increase, but theirs was only 3%. Then we would say, okay, that's a 7%. That's a success. We've done good work here on Maryland 210. And I'm hoping that in the next few months, we'll start getting some initial results of the before and after study. We'll probably just do 1 month at a time, because that's how the data is going to come into us. It's not real-time data. We'll look at, if they installed on October 1st, let's say, we'll look at September as the first before month, and then we'll look at October as the first after the installation month, and see if we can have the speeds changed. Are there less crashes? Is the traffic volume the same as it was as the month before? So those are the type of things that me and my team will be looking at to do this evaluation. And I think at the end of all this, in addition to just doing the analysis, we may have some other recommendations for making this road safer. I don't think that these installations by themselves are going to make Maryland 210 accident free, but the idea is to make sure that it's going in the right direction, and then make some recommendations on what's additional countermeasures or technologies can be installed to help further improve the safety situation on Maryland 210.
Well, Dr. France, we thank you, because we feel very, I guess, grateful that, that your program and project is being lent towards this community. We need every bit of help that we can get. And certainly, what your the end product of what your project is directed towards is to bring people more in a conscientiousness of slowing down, more conscientious of this speeding overall, that all of us can hopefully, just have a better day of comfort, knowing that there are enhancements being put in place to make hopefully people more aware of their speed, and hopefully do the things in the right direction of slowing down and making it safer for everyone. We want to thank you. We certainly want to keep up to date, have you keep us up to date on the progress of these projects, and how they're what they're giving you in terms of enlightenment of the personality of this highway. I think we have a pretty good idea. I'm about to give a report now on the unfortunately the earliest or the latest I have is July, but it still speaks to the things that you're talking about earlier in your presentation about people slowing down at the cameras, then picking back up. But here's the thing, the same people know where the cameras are because they have been stationary for some time now in terms of years. Nevertheless, even with that being the case, people are doing, I mean, they're just blowing through the cameras. It just, still at hyper speeds. I can use, your presentation. I want to thank you for everything that you have given us in presentation and the work that you're doing. And we're looking forward to those things in the future. But I want to use what you have given us in terms of how people are responding to the cameras as a segue to kind of give you and everyone else what the latest report is. And this is again in July. Now, I want to be mindful of everyone. These numbers, I'm a little suspect in terms of what they're showing because this is the month of July, from July 1 to the end of July. Actually, it's going to the 23rd of July, so it's not actually having the full month. But here's what is being recorded, because when I'm sorry, it is going to the end of July. July 30th is the ending from the 30-day period. In the month of June, collectively, there was over 4,000 infractions recorded. And 4,000, and I don't have the exact number right in front of me, but I remember it's over 4,000 infractions altogether from between the three cameras. For the month of July, we have 1,372 total infractions. Now, here's where it gets very interesting, because we've always had an uphill battle for this entire year regarding those who are getting infractions. In other words, infractions being everyone going over the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit and going over the 12-mile buffer at 67 miles per hour. Now, just like Dr. Francis reported, these cameras have been stationary for some time, and people know where they are. Nevertheless, this is the kind of reports these three cameras we have are reporting. In the speed range between the three cameras, in the 67 to 79 mile per hour range, we have over 1,258 people getting citations, which means over the 67 mile per hour. Now, they know, in other words, I'm painting a picture. You know where the cameras are. They've been there for the last so many years. But nevertheless, between the collective three cameras, 1,258 people in the speed range between 67 miles an hour and 79. Out of that number, 1,258 in terms of total number for the three cameras in that speed range, only 547 received citations. 80 to 89 miles per hour, you had collectively 74 people going over into that speed category. Only 26 received citations, according to this report. 90 to 99 miles per hour, you had 21 people in that category. Only 4 received citations, and those who were going over 100 miles per hour plus, there were 19 that were recorded. Only 3 received citations. So this is the state of affairs that we have in terms of Indian Highway, and the picture that we have in terms of those who are being held accountable, those who are breaking the law. Now, I think if you remember the last meeting we had, and I just want to give context to the numbers I've just given you. And again, just lock in your mind, these are stationary cameras. They're mobile in terms of their capability, but they've been in the same place for last couple of years. And we got a report that I think I read from at our last meeting. I just want to reemphasize that report because it has very interesting things to say. And I think Dr. French, you probably can glean some things from this report in your project that would probably help you as well. This report by Automated Enforcement Division came to us last month, and it gives the picture of repeat offenders on the Indian Highway. And this report was generated between 1 January 1, 2020 to August of 21st of 2023, the actual date that we had our last meeting. It records thus, in that time period, 11,786 tickets issued to repeat offenders. 11,786. It approximates that 30% of the citations issued in that time period are going back again to repeat offenders. In other words, 1 in 3 citations given to repeat offenders are going into that group. 1 in 3 citations that are given are going into that group. One person had 59 citations. Okay. The next one 58 and the next one 38. Let me just read some of the categories of what's happening with people, and you get a good personality of what's happening with people running unaccountable to the law based on the citations giving. These are the numbers giving 87 repeat offenders with 10 or more citations, 425 offenders with 5 or more citations, 1,176 offenders with 3 or more citations, and there are 4,099 offenders with 2 or more citations. That is the personality of our roadway in 210 by the reported data by AED. So I'll leave that with you, everyone, to chew on, but this is what's happening on the Indian Head Highway. And when we have a situation where I talked to you just a moment ago, 1,200 and some odd people getting citations in the 67 to 79 category and only 547, you see why people are kind of making a joke out of the whole Camry idea. And that has to be changed. We can talk about this in a moment, but I do want to go into another part of our presentation, because this is very important in terms of our total awareness of things that are happening on Indian Head Highway. There was a meeting regarding things for many of us who are interested in terms of the next overpass, and to shed light on that whole idea and to shed light on where the Indian Head Highway community stands in terms of overpass period and anything else in terms of improvement. I'd like to turn things over to Ron Weiss, who has gathered some information regarding the Consolidated Transportation Plan that gives the kind of priority schedule of project events in the state of Maryland. So Ron, I will turn it over to you and let you explain and present the information that you have in that regard.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Screen. It's a draft consolidated transportation plan, and the second page has a letter from Secretary Wiedefeld, the new Secretary of the Department of Transportation. And he said that this draft plan basically reflects the work of the previous administration. They haven't got a CTP, transportation plan, that reflects the priorities of the new administration, but this represents what we have at the moment. And he said, in addition to the fact that this transportation plan is not what the current administration would develop from scratch, and imagine the next one will, but he said they're like $2 billion short from doing even what the current transportation plan recommends. And so specifically for 210, there are 38 scored projects. This is at the last few pages of the plan. There are 38 scored projects in priority order. Maryland 210 is the 31st priority out of 38. The 31st out of 38. There are 6 Prince George's County projects in that priority list. and 210 is the third of 6. So it's not a very good sign for getting work done at the Palmer Livingston interchange work. It just, I won't see it happen in my lifetime, but this is coming. He also mentions that the current administration is more transit oriented. They're going to be devoting more of the limited resources to transit versus roads. And that's another negative strike for 210. Yeah, things don't look good right now. I guess give it a year and maybe the new administration will raise the priority of 210. And what I recommend is that anybody who cares about getting more interchanges on 210 to lobby our delegation, both the Senator Muse, Delegate Valderrama, Jamela Woods, and Veronica Turner, and lobby them to try to raise the priority of 210 in the next plan. That's what I'm planning to do. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. I know there are a couple of hands that are raised, Peter and Zeno. If you could hold your comments for just one more period of presentation. I know we got a lot that we put on the plate, and there's probably a lot that those of us want to respond to.
Reverend Screen,
Yeah.
just to put a pin on what Ron mentioned.
Mhm.
I would also recommend having the assistance of the delegation to talk to your council member,
Okay.
because they also can leverage what the priority list is going to be from the county.
Mhm. Okay, got you. Okay, I got
Right.
you.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if we can hold other comments until we have one more guest that I'm very eager to introduce, and I think what we've kind of the presentations that we have had privilege to have put a lot of on the plate of our next guest, and we're honored to have with us to give us her perspective. I know I'm kind of putting the spotlight on this individual in a way in which I'm really only asking them to give a summation of how they feel about the overall picture of 210 in regard to the overall traffic situation or perspectives in the state of Maryland. But we have with us tonight representatives from AAA, Regina Ali, and we have invited her, and we're lucky to have her to give her perspectives from the AAA point of view, and the things that she sees from a wider frame of perspectives of seeing 210 along with all the other highways and all the other traffic interests in the state of Maryland and the DMV overall. So I'm going to give it over to you, Miss Ali, and let you kind of just give an overview of how you see things, or whatever it is that you would like to share with us that you feel would be important to this community. And again, we thank you so much for being with us, and we just pray that you whatever you have to say, I'm sure we can always take ingest it and be thankful to receive it. So I'll give you the platform, and Ms. Raji, whatever you have to say in your AAA perspectives, we're thankful to have it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Reverend Dr. Screen. And it was nice to meet you in person in Annapolis a few weeks ago. And you're right, you have invited me many times. Nice to see you, Ron. You've invited me many times, and I apologize that I'm just able to make it. So for those who may not know me, I'm Regina Ali. I'm the Public and Government Affairs Manager for AAA Mid-Atlantic. I've served in that role in Maryland for the last 18 years. I recently inherited the DC market, as well as your market, Prince George's and Montgomery and Charles counties, about 2 years ago. So I've got the entire state of Maryland as well as DC. I didn't always have Southern Maryland. I also have Northern Virginia from a media standpoint. So my role at AAA is unique in that I'm the spokesperson for AAA and I do lobbying and government affairs work. So not only, I know you all are very familiar with my former colleague and dear friend, John Townsend. John and I started at AAA just about around the same time. But John was sort of the expert in your area. So I'm probably going to need to come down at some point, Dr. Screen, for that field trip. And I have actually finally driven on Indian Head Highway not too long ago for school safety patrol presentation. As you know, AAA oversees the school safety patrollers at schools. That's our program for over 100 years. So traffic safety is certainly near and dear to us. I, for the most part, because there's only one of me doing the job of what used to be probably 4 or 5 people in different locations, I have all of that area and I have no assistant, nobody. It's just me. So when I hop on a call in the evening and I've got a sick daughter upstairs, it's you know what I mean? It's a little bit, and I know everybody has busy schedules, but my days are long usually. But certainly I didn't want you to think that traffic safety wasn't something that's at the forefront of what we do, because it is. I just try to usually, because there's just one of me, keep it more state focused. But that being said, I listened very carefully to Reverend Dr. Screen when we had the opportunity a few weeks ago, and we met with, it was John Singh's group, who I know most of you know John, with Maryland Safe Roads Coalition, and John put together a group of us to meet with Governor Moore's legislative team. And I was certainly impressed and happy to meet Reverend Dr. Screen, and wanted to have the opportunity to meet with your group as well. So, and I pretty much gave you my background as far as AAA. I'm also a former Baltimore police officer. So I do have a little bit of traffic safety background. It was many, many years ago. My husband's a Baltimore police officer, so law enforcement is near and dear to my heart. I'm actually in Harford County, Maryland. So I'm closer to Delaware or Pennsylvania than I am to Annapolis or the southern counties. That being said, I represent the whole state of Maryland. So just so you know that. AAA is looking at all sorts of issues coming up. I actually have a meeting with our contractual lobbyists next week to kind of discuss what we're going to be looking at legislatively in the 2024 session. What Ron said is absolutely spot on from meetings I've had, from inside conversations, sort of about the focus of this administration, very much on transit. I don't think that's to say that there's not an interest or a genuine passion for roads, but there certainly is a keen interest and a very enthusiastic interest in transit. So you're absolutely spot on about that. Again, we haven't decided exactly what our legislative focus is going to be, but overall, it's traffic safety. I can tell you, the meeting we had, we obviously talked a bit about the expansion of Noah's Law, which is a fight AAA has been working with Mothers Against Drunk Driving and other safety partners on that for the last few years. We were instrumental in the first passage of that bill, of that law, I should say, but we are looking to see it expanded so that people who don't have a conviction, because if you receive a PBJ or probation before judgment, that's not actually a guilty finding, but we want people who accept that to also be required to have the ignition interlock as well. So that's been a bit of an uphill battle. It looked like it was going to pass last year, this session, I should say, and at the last minute it didn't. So we're certainly working with other like-minded stakeholders on that initiative. There was another bill that I know would be near and dear to your community about the illegal street racing on the roads and excessive speeds. Those bills died last year. We will be back. Actually, I'm going to a fundraiser next week for Delegate Dana Stein. And I don't typically go to fundraisers, to be honest, just because AAA doesn't have a PAC, but he's always been a friend of AAA. So I'm going to talk to him about that. I believe Senator Beidel had a bill in last year. So we're going to see who can bring those bills back this year and if we can get some movement on those as well. And like I said, we'll just kind of look and see what else comes up. Dr. Screen, I was really interested in the numbers you were presenting, as well as Major Mitchell I have a quick question. Your numbers came from where, Dr. Screen, the numbers you were presenting?
That was from the Automated Enforcement Division. That's the portion of the Prince George's County Police Department that handles the cameras and
Mhm.
all the pertinent data information. I know Major Mitchell can be more specific in other things they may be into, but they are straight from that particular portion of the Prince George's County Police Department. They
Okay.
handle all of the data regarding camera information. Yes.
Understood. Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't catch where you said that data was from.
Mhm.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that one of the cameras or some of the cameras in that area weren't actually working properly, or at some point there was an issue with the vendor? I'm just curious.
The issue has been with the vendor. In terms of properly operating, I would not know that
Mhm.
part, but what we have had a history of having a number of citations given. I mean, let me back up. A number of infractions reported.
Okay.
The number of citations giving has been minuscule to that, to the degree of the number actually recorded by the cameras. And this has been the focus of our 210 traffic safety committees, focus. What is going on with this? We know there is, with the county, also the same concern. Now, what the outcome of that, we don't know. We know there are things being done or being discussed,
Okay.
but those are behind the door kind of decisions and discussions that are made that are outside of our purview. But
Sure.
it has been a problem because the numbers, like as I've given you,
Mhm.
and as Mark France was, his report, what people are doing. I mean, if you know where a camera is and you're slowing down
Right.
and then speeding up, that's one thing. To know the cameras are there and not slow down and have the kind of numbers that we have,
Mhm.
that shows something else that's going on in terms of the behavior pattern of the drivers. And it concerns us because we have the highest fatality rate in the 14-mile span of road. I mean, we last year, from 2007 to last year, 2022, we have a total of 89 fatalities. We're not talking about, we're talking about number of people, not fatality crash, but the number of people that have died on this
Right.
highway. We had 10 last year alone
Right.
on this highway. So, when we're talking about speeding and the number of fatalities and here's the thing, we're not talking about a long span of road like 301, other, 95. We're talking 14 miles of
14
Prince George's
miles.
County roadway. So,
Right.
very condensed portion of roadway that's producing a lot of fatalities. And then when we have the cameras as being the main, 24/7 enforcement mechanism there, and having the numbers and not people getting citations, that's a problem. It's a big problem.
Absolutely. How long has there been an issue with the cameras? How long has that been going on? Do you know?
The cameras came in, and actually the three of them in July of 2019. We were looking at numbers at that time. I think the first, they kept warnings at first, and then they started giving out citations in August of that year. We were close, somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 reported infractions at that time. They weren't giving us the citations at that time in terms of a number, but it's pretty much plateaued. I mean, last 3 months outside of July, it's been up to 4,000 infractions, but here again, only maybe half or less getting citations. So at one time it had plateaued, I think somewhere around 2,500 for a period of time, and then it seems to have spiked up here as of late. I think because we had a report back here in February that hit the news, showing that people were not getting citations at the high speeds. I don't know if that has been part of the reason why people feel they can just do what they do and not just roll the dice on getting a citation or what have you. But that's kind of been what has happened. We've gone back up in the numbers in terms of those who getting the infractions. So it's been going on for quite a while.
Okay, thank you. And I ask because perhaps if there's not some movement on correcting it, perhaps AAA can help call some attention to that and help
we would certainly love,
help move the process along.
yes, we would certainly love all the help we can get in that. We really,
Yeah, I welcome a conversation with you offline a little bit later this
yes,
week, if I could.
yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
that would be great. And then, just probably the only other thing, and I was listening because I remembered when we met with the governor's office, you mentioned that there were some issues with the cameras. So we saw issues with cameras in Baltimore, several years ago. And from that, a work group, came about to look at what was going on with the cameras, and we had people getting tickets that shouldn't have gotten them. We had people not getting them. We had people getting duplicate. There were a whole lot of things going on, and I'm not certain that it's not the same vendor. I'd have to look into that. But at any rate, so thank you. We can certainly see if we can help call some attention to that.
Okay.
The only other things I would share is I did speak with a reporter today from Capital News Service in Annapolis, who is doing a story about Maryland traffic safety in general.
Mhm.
I don't think she's doing her story until Thursday or Wednesday of this week. So if you'd like for me to have her reach out to anyone on this call to kind of talk about the issue specific to 210, I'm happy to do that. I talked to her kind of broader statewide issue as well as regionally and what we're seeing nationally with sort of the risky and dangerous driving behaviors that didn't start with the pandemic, but kind of worsened during the pandemic.
Mhm.
So again, if you're interested in chatting with her, I'm happy to share your information. I see Ron shaking
Ab-
his head.
Absolutely. I think we can fill up a book worth. It won't be a newspaper. It'll be a book. It'll be a novel worth.
Sure. I'm going to when we get off the phone, I think I have both of your numbers, but just double email me.
Okay.
Just make sure I do. Her name is I want to say Lucy Hubbard, and I
Okay.
will put her in touch with both of you, can share an additional perspective. So that would be great. The only other two quick things I'd mention is obviously for us, AAA, we're big on the whole slow down, move over law, instrumental in getting that passed in pretty much every state in this country. In Maryland, just recently, last year, we had that law expanded to not just cover our first responders, our police, our tow truck drivers, but also motorists that
Mhm.
are broken down on the side of the roadway.
Mhm.
I know we just had another tow truck driver killed in, I think it was Prince George's a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
So we're constantly calling attention to that. Slow Down Move Over Day is usually the third Saturday in October. So I'm going to be looking to see how we can partner with some stakeholders to bring attention to that. Upcoming on October 21st is the date. AAA is also serving on a work zone safety task force after the horrible crash that happened on 695 in
Yes.
Baltimore. So we have a seat at that table. I've also been recently appointed by the governor to serve on the Transportation Revenue and Infrastructure Needs Commission. So AAA is on that commission as well. So we're certainly representing drivers across the state on those various work groups and commissions, just so you know.
Okay.
And I think that is probably all. I didn't have a formal presentation, but I wasn't expecting to speak. So that's about all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Well, we thank you so much for giving time to us, and certainly you've given us a wealth of information. You really have.
You're
And
welcome.
certainly we'll have to talk to you offline about the matters you discussed. I'll just use what you've given us as a segue to actually get into our open time of discussion. Some may come to you and others who are presented. So audience, I'll just go back to, I think there was Zeno St. Cyr who had his hand up some time ago. Zeno, if you still have that question to give to our audience, please feel free to give that to us right now.
Thank you, Reverend Screen. And it wasn't a question, it was just a comment on the report that Ron gave. Just by way of information, the state's transportation plan is put together after receiving the transportation priorities from the various counties. In the past, we have worked with our county, Prince George's County, to try to get certain projects high on the county's transportation list in order to try to also have them become a priority in the state's master transportation plan. It is that state transportation plan that is used to prioritize the projects that receive federal funding.
Mhm.
So obviously the higher a transportation project is prioritized in the state's plan, the more likely, the better likelihood there is for that project receiving federal funding. So, and one of the things that we have come up against year after year is that our governors have had their own priorities for transportation projects, and in some years, in most years, our county executive also has had their own priorities for transportation projects. So we have to continue being vigilant and work to try to make our elected officials become advocates for those projects that we deem a priority down here in South County.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to take that diligence, that continued thrust on our behalf by our legislators to put us on the map. But I thank you for those words of insight, Zeno, and anything else that you may want to share in this open period. Let me first of all apologize to Joseph Trappini, who actually had his hand up first. And Joseph, if you're still on the line, I want to make sure we go to your question that you had earlier tonight. So Joseph, you have the platform, so please give us your question, and hopefully we can have an answer for you.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Dr. Screen. My question is actually addressed to Major Mitchell. Back in the July meeting of this forum, I asked the PG County representative about the county's plans, procedures, being able to deal with the legalization of recreational use of marijuana, cannabis. And the rep at the time said, you'll have to talk to Major Mitchell about that. So since Major Mitchell appears to still be on the line, I want to raise that question as to how our local enforcement is doing with that change in the legislation, because I happened to be at National Harbor this weekend with visiting family and went to a restaurant to eat. And as we were leaving the restaurant, a few individuals on the sidewalk were smoking weed right there on the sidewalk. And that I found that to be kind of bold, because if you've ever been to National Harbor, you will see there is a pretty heavy police presence visible at National Harbor. So I was curious if the major had any insight as to how the county is dealing with this, because it affects the safety of 210. These individuals, if they're smoking, getting high, and impaired driving, they're going to be on 210. And the indication of how things are on 210, you can just look at the guardrail. And this is another note for Peter that I was going to follow up with. The guardrail situation on 210, they're just all crashed up. And I'm just curious what the county is doing to address this change in the legislation, this potential increase in impaired driving for us citizens that are just driving home from the restaurant.
Okay, this is Major Mitchell. Okay, to address as far as what you're talking about, it's still illegal to smoke the cannabis in public. The only thing that's really changed as far as its weights and the violations, it's no longer a criminal citation. It's now it's more along the lines of a civil violation. So whereas in the past, officers could make full custody arrests of people smoking marijuana in public, now it's only a small fine. And then the individual has an opportunity to go to court, and then it's adjudicated in the court system. As far as operating a motor vehicle, it's still the same thing. If someone's impaired, be it alcohol or be it under the influence of some type of controlled substance, it's still the same thing that's required of the officer. The officer has to be able to put that individual behind the wheel, and we still have to be able to articulate the reason for the actual stop. As far as the officers going up to the vehicle, and if they can smell marijuana, that's no longer a valid cause just to stop a vehicle, just the smell of marijuana emanating from the car. So that's one of the things that actually changed for the police department, and that was due to legislation. So other than that, unless the police actually see this individual, they might be smoking marijuana and they get behind the wheel. If you follow them and there are no infractions, you actually don't have legally probable cause to actually stop this individual. We still have to abide by the law, even though there were changes in the law. So a lot of these changes, they came about from things that are going on across the United States. And right now, that's like one of the best practices, since a lot of states have gone to legalization of cannabis. And so they changed the laws and everything also. So like I said, we can't get any cars anymore just because of the smell of marijuana. And we actually have to have probable cause to stop these cars. That's probably about the only thing I can really tell you, from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
And so, Major, if somebody is consuming cannabis on the sidewalk, the officer has to witness that in order to issue that civil citation?
Well, it depends on how much he actually has, because if he only has, just say that one marijuana joint, and it's probably less than, by the time he's almost finished it or whatever, it might at that point be like 0.001 grams. That's almost not even enough to measure. At that point, he'll probably just be field interviewed and it won't be a citation issued.
But is not the consumption in public areas a crime in itself?
It's only a civil violation now. It's no longer a criminal violation now.
Okay, so that's a ticket.
Right. It's only a civil violation. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I've read, and correct me for those that may know better. It appears that there's really no instrument or mechanism that they can really use. In other words, like say for instance, for alcohol, there's a breathalyzer that can be used by the officers to detect there's alcohol on the driver's breath, but they don't have that for the cannabis. And one thing I've read, and Major Mitchell, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like a blood test is the best I guess manner by which you can detect if cannabis is being actually smoked by the driver. But there's some caveats with that. My understanding, the driver has to give the consent to have that blood test done. Well, I mean, who would do that if they're smoking? And then the other thing, I understand that over a period of time, the blood test is only good for a matter of hours. In other words, if somebody's smoking over a period of time and you don't catch them at the right time, it dissipates in the blood. So there's really no mechanism that has been that I know of that they can use to basically detect it. If you can't go by the smell anymore, I mean, it puts the officer at complete disadvantage in terms of being able to address that issue. The other thing I just put this in the capstone in finishing. It appears every state that has put legalized marijuana, I think Colorado and the state of Washington, the first two that I remember, and in both of these states, the roadway fatalities have gone up appreciably as a result of people smoking marijuana. So I'll just close on that. I think Herbert Jones, you had a question. Let me go right to you.
Excuse me real quick,
Yes.
though. I pick back on something that you're saying.
Yes.
Everything that you're saying is not necessarily accurate, because you can still have someone impaired and it's not alcohol. And if the person, like I said, you would be able to initially stop somebody in the past from just the smell of the marijuana coming from the vehicle. But that's only part of the probable cause issue, because I can be behind you. You can be crossing over the double yellow lines, not signaling. You could be speeding. And if I pull you over, and even if I smell the marijuana, I mean, if I can articulate that along with something else, as far as the reason that I stopped you, we have what they call a DRE. A DRE is a drug recognition expert. And so what you do is you call that individual to the scene. Now, what they've been trained in is a different type of test, which will help determine whether or not that person is actually impaired. And then we go from there. So there are means where you can actually test someone who is not necessarily impaired by alcohol, but it could be drugs or some other type of substance. Because sometimes you have people that are exhibiting these symptoms, but it could be diabetics. They're different things. It could be medical. So we do have means to to test, to run certain tests like the DREs and everything, but it's not just win or lose. I mean, it's not. We're no longer saying that just because you don't have the smell of cannabis that's the only reason that you were able to stop the individual from getting the car. That's only like one part of many. You still have other reasons where you can actually put this person behind the wheel and still stop them from being impaired. It's just that you can no longer use just the smell of marijuana coming from the car in order to make that stop. That's why it takes the officer being trained, and you follow them for a while, and you make observations, and then when they do a certain amount of traffic violations, you still pull them over and conduct your regular traffic stops. But you just go from there with your investigatory process. And then just real quick on what you were talking about earlier for the fatal on 210, I just went back and did a quick background. There were actually 3 vehicles involved. The first vehicle was like coming actually northbound on 210, trying to make a left turn to go into Farmington Road. And the second 2 vehicles were actually going southbound. And for some reason, the vehicle that was going northbound made that left turn in front of the 2 vehicles coming southbound. And that's pretty much what caused that accident. So those are like pretty much some of the particulars behind that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Major Mitchell, for bringing clarity for both of those points there. That's valuable information that we all can glean from that. Thank you again for that. Brother Herbert Jones, I think you have.
Yes. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Just 3 quick comments. One with respect to the initial presenter, was it Dr. Franz?
Yes.
I believe.
Yes. I think he may have
gone off. Right. Just very quickly, the speed cameras have begun to change the behavior on 210. That's a fact. The data would somewhat support that. And the notion that after the person knows where the speed cameras are, once they get by them, they speed up, that may be true. But they're still leery and worried, based on some of the studies I've shown, to go back to the original speeds they were doing before there was not any speed camera at all. So the speed cameras have made a substantial difference in saving the lives on 210, 1. 2, I believe, again, and based on information that I've researched and I'll provide it to you, Dr. Screen, that there is a direct correlation between the legalization of cannabis and the sort of accidents we're seeing. The other day, I was at a stoplight, and I looked up at my mirror, and this guy was barreling down, and I almost went through light, and then he stopped, swung around, laughed, rolled down the window, maybe 2 or 3 guys and some young ladies in the back, and you could smell the marijuana coming out of the vehicle. Now, I know that's just one example, but I definitely think there's a correlation between the accidents that we're seeing on 210, the recklessness with respect to the legalization of marijuana. That's my own personal opinion. And 3, I wanted to see, in terms of the traffic stops and the traffic stops that are done by the 7 districts and others, do we have a sense of the profile of the individuals? I think I've asked this question before. Are they young, old? What is the dynamic of those folks that we're stopping, that we're seeing all these violations occur when we actually have these individuals stopped by police? And I know that may not be an issue that we can talk about today, but I'd be interested to see what that profile looks like. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, can I answer part of that for you?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, I actually run radar, and I stop a lot of people on 210. And believe it or not, it's not the younger people that I'm stopping. I'm actually stopping,
oh, no. Really?
I'm actually stopping quite a few people that actually live in that area and in our neighborhood of Division 7.
Really?
and they're elders. They're not the younger people like most people think.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. So
They're
maybe they
on
just try.
they're on cell phones and everything else. They're just not paying attention. They're distracted.
Okay. Okay. No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Major Mitchell. So that crosses out that theory. Okay, that's good to know. That is good to know. 'Cause I thought maybe it was the older people trying to hurry up and get off of 210. But yeah, I understand, Major Mitchell.
No, that's cell phones.
Okay, thank you.
They talk on them, and they also, since they went to streaming devices, it's quite a few people that now just watch TV while they're going up and down 210.
Wow.
What?
Oh,
What?
Phones in the window, and they'll watch their favorite shows on the way up and down 210.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is scary.
That's
Okay.
That's scary. I think we have, thank you so much for that, Major, both her, you have very interesting discourse between you. I see Miss Regina Ali's hand up. Miss Regina, please, you have the platform.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to actually sort of co-sign exactly what Major Mitchell said. So our AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety does all sorts of research, not just in this region, but across the country. And while you would kind of think that it's always young people that are distracted, not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case. Used to be, but not so much anymore. So I can say that AAA's research actually confirms exactly what Major Mitchell just said.
Thank you.
So it's
Sure.
that's us old fogies that are the problem here, huh?
Yeah, okay, Reverend Scream. Slow down now.
Oh my gracious. Well, I'll try to get a little humor out of that. Miss April Melk, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just got a question. I know I missed a couple of meetings. Are we planning to get more speed cameras on 210? And the second question, I know at one point, a meeting back, we was trying to get the speeding ticket increased or even for repeat offenders. Was that ever resolved? Because I know I missed like 2 or 3 meetings.
Well, yes, we did try to get the speed, the fines increased. 2 years we have failed. We plan on going back again for a 3rd year this year, coming up here in the 2024 General Assembly session. We feel we have enough evidence and also enough support to try to once again to put this in play. And just generally, I think probably most people probably understand that we have a $40 static fine with the cameras as it is right now. What we're trying to do is get the camera fine in line with, somewhat in sync and parallel to what an officer would give if they were pulled over by a road officer rather than the camera. And Miss Regina Ali, just kind of throwing that at you. That's going to be one of our major thrusts going into next year, is to try to increase the fines where they actually, have some type of deterrent value. We have people going over 100. Matter of fact, I think our high speed at this point, one of the cameras on the southbound side of the roadway is 175 miles per hour. Now, that person, as it is right now, if we're caught, they would only pay $40, just like somebody going 68 miles an hour. So we're trying to put some sense and deterrent value into the cameras signage, and hopefully we get that passed, and hopefully we can have AAA support with that as well. In terms of your second question, well, actually the first question had to do with the cameras. The cameras issue is still in a state of flux as far as I know. We have won the right to put them on the roadway. There's some behind the scene things that are going on in terms of the whole issue with the contractor and the cameras issue. So I kind of leave that there. I will say legislatively, we've won the right to have an additional 3 cameras. Just some behind the scenes issues that are being worked out regarding the not just the placement, but in terms of some other things having to do with the contractor wrapped up in that whole camera issue and the additional 3 cameras, as best I can say right now, on that whole issue. If that makes sense to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, any other questions I have? I think I'm trying to see. Certainly, AAA will certainly consider supporting measure. Dr. Screen, thank you, Ms. Ali, on that. Do we have any other questions from our audience on anything or collectively all the things we have said here tonight? There's been a wealth of information that we have shared, and a wide range of things at the same time. And so I hope each and every one of you has had your either questions asked or your have been enlightened to a higher degree of awareness of what is happening on Indian Head Highway. There's quite a bit in terms of what has been discussed in terms of Dr. Mark Francis, his project to better the safety measures in Indian Head Highway. There's also the things Peter has talked about in terms of bringing the flex poles in addition to Dr. Francis' project. There's also, as I've just discussed, in terms of moving into the next year, hopefully to get the $40 fine increase to more mimic and parallel what a road cruiser would give to someone if they were pulled over by someone in the police cruiser. So there's a great deal of things that are happening. Believe me, Indian Head Highway is being discussed on a high level by many people, and we hope to have some more significant answers to some of your questions or enlightenment to all our concerns about safety, hopefully in the near future as we go more closer into the closer to the new year. But again, I just want, before I close out, I want to give a last and final opportunity for anyone that had any other comments, any other questions, any other things that need to be presented. Before we sign off, just give that opportunity now, and please, we want to try to answer every question that we can, and hopefully enlighten everyone on the same level of awareness. So anyone else that has a question, any other comments that need to be made? Okay, doesn't seem to be the case. So I will thank all of you. I want to thank all of our presenters. We had a wealth of very good presenters and information given. Our next meeting will be Monday, the 16th. Everything the same in terms of the contact information for the Zoom information, same time frame. Hopefully, Ms. Ali, if you and your busy schedule, if you can find a slot of time to come with us again, the door is always open, the invitation is always there. We're thankful for you here tonight, as well as all of our presenters. Each one of you has given us a wealth of information and blessed us to a higher level of, I think, knowledge is always gives us the power to make change for the better. And we certainly have gotten a lot of things here today. Ms. Ali, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just moving. I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. No, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and look forward to working with you. We'll do my best to attend on the 16th. And if we can circle back, you and I and Ron. I'm out most of the day tomorrow, but shoot me an email. I'll still respond.
Sounds good. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet everyone. Have a great evening.
Yes. And I'll just use that as a segue to close out. And I want to God bless each and every one of you. And please, 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 please be safe on the roadway. Be more conscientious than the other guy about your awareness, about your own safety, and about your loved ones with you. So God bless you all, and hopefully to see you on the 16th, God willing. In the meantime, be blessed, be safe, and be diligent on the road in your safe measures.
Okay,
Amen.
you did the same. Thank you.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Right,
everyone.